OPEC just made a power move, and it's shaking up America's energy game. For a while, it looked like the US had the upper hand. Oil production at home was booming, natural gas exports were surging, and Washington was confident. We've got this. We don't need OPEC anymore. In recent developments, the global energy landscape has been marked by significant events influencing oil prices and production strategies. On February 19, 2025, oil prices experienced an uptick due to concerns over potential supply disruptions in the United States and Russia. The market is also closely monitoring peace talks in Ukraine, which could impact future energy dynamics. Brent crude futures rose by 14 cents, reaching $75.98 per barrel, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate (WTI) crude futures increased by 16 cents to $72.01 per barrel. A notable incident contributing to these price movements was a drone attack on a Russian pipeline pumping station by Ukrainian forces. This attack has the potential to reduce the Caspian Pipeline Consortium's oil flow by 30%, raising concerns about global supply constraints. In parallel, high-level negotiations between Russian and U.S. officials are underway in Saudi Arabia, aiming to resolve the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. These discussions could lead to the easing of sanctions on Russia's energy sector, potentially altering global oil supply dynamics. Adding to the complexity, Brazil has announced its decision to join OPEC+, the coalition of major oil exporting nations. This move, approved by Brazil's National Council for Energy Policy, allows the country to participate in strategic dialogues among oil-producing nations without binding production commitments. Brazil's inclusion in OPEC+ comes just months before it is set to host the annual United Nations Climate Summit, highlighting the intricate balance between energy production and environmental considerations. These developments underscore the dynamic and interconnected nature of global energy markets, where geopolitical events, strategic alliances, and production decisions collectively influence oil prices and supply stability. But OPEC wasn't just going to sit back and watch. Instead, they pulled a bold move, slashing production, tightening supply, and driving up prices on their terms. Just like that, the balance of power shifted again. And this isn't just about oil prices, it's a high-stakes battle for control. Why did OPEC strike back? For years, the U.S. flooded the market with shale oil, cutting into OPEC's dominance. Countries like India and major European economies, once loyal OPEC customers, started turning to American energy instead. That didn't sit well with the oil cartel. So, OPEC hit back. They cut supply. They squeezed inventories. They made it clear. They still call the shots. The U.S. strategy and its cracks. Under Trump, federal lands opened for drilling, production hit record highs, and the U.S. came close to true energy independence. More oil meant lower prices, weakening OPEC's grip. But here's the catch. Pumping more oil is one thing. Controlling the market? That's another story. Now, with OPEC pushing back harder than ever, cracks in the U.S. strategy are starting to show. The Saudi-Iran factor. A fragile alliance. OPEC isn't a monolith. It's a mix of countries with their own agendas. But right now, two of its biggest players, Saudi Arabia and Iran, are surprisingly on the same page. Iran wants OPEC to stay strong against U.S. sanctions. Saudi Arabia is using production cuts to keep prices high. It's a fragile alliance, but for now, it's holding. And that's making OPEC's moves even more powerful. Can the U.S. fight back? On paper, the U.S. has options. Flood the market with oil. Drive prices down. Force OPEC to rethink production cuts. Use diplomacy. Convince key OPEC members, especially Saudi Arabia, to ease restrictions. Both strategies come with major risks. Flooding the market could backfire. OPEC controls a different kind of oil, heavier crude that many refineries need. Even if the U.S. pumps more, it won't fully replace what OPEC provides. Plus, too much supply could overwhelm storage and crash prices. Remember when oil prices went negative in 2020? Diplomacy isn't easy. The US has a complicated relationship with Saudi Arabia, and securing a deal might require big concessions, like security guarantees or arms deals. Even then, countries like Iran and Venezuela, both under US sanctions, might refuse to cooperate. The global ripple effect. This isn't just a US OPEC standoff. It's a global energy shakeup. Countries like India are locking in long-term deals for American liquefied natural gas, LNG, to cut reliance on OPEC. Europe, still reeling from past energy crises, is doubling down on renewables. Russia is using the chaos to sidestep sanctions, selling oil to China and India. Meanwhile, smaller nations like Malaysia and Vietnam are emerging as energy hubs, seizing opportunities left by OPEC's production cuts. What about everyday people? For the average person, this isn't just politics. It's real life. Gas prices are creeping higher. Heating bills are climbing. Groceries are getting more expensive. Transportation costs affect everything. The longer this drags on, the more people feel the squeeze. The long game. What's next? OPEC isn't playing for the short term. Their real goal is long-term dominance. Iraq just discovered a massive oil field near Baghdad. Saudi Arabia and others are planning years ahead, not just reacting to today's crisis. Meanwhile, the US is at a crossroads. Double down on oil production. That takes time. Years, not months. Go all in on renewables. The tech is advancing, but oil is still king. For now. One thing's certain, this energy battle is far from over. So, what happens next? A few possible scenarios. Prolonged standoff. OPEC refuses to budge, keeping supply tight and prices high, forcing the US to scramble. Short-term truce. Diplomacy eases tensions for now, but another showdown looms. Global energy shift. More countries move toward alternative energy, slowly weakening OPEC's grip. So, who makes the next move? Will OPEC stick to its guns and keep prices high? Will the US counter with a bold strategy? 1. Things for sure. The energy market is on edge. The next move will change everything. If you found this breakdown insightful, hit that like button and subscribe. Stay ahead of the biggest global shifts, because this energy war is far from over.